I gotta be honest, I don't know what time it is because I'm in a different room than normal, and the time's on my phone, and I had it set up so I can get this set up because I have a new system. I have a new light and all that good stuff. So hopefully it's time. So hey y'all, it's time. It is time for the weekly reading. I don't see anybody popping in, so hopefully you guys can hear me because I have a whole new setup. Okay, somebody popped in. Lynn, can you hear me okay? I have a whole new setup here, and I don't want to start rambling, and no one can hear me. I'm going to sit here and wait for your response. Just let me know. Thumbs up, something, if you can hear me okay. Lynn, tell me if you can hear me. Yes, okay. So we're going on chapter 2 today. So it's Gray's Wolf chapter 2. And hopefully it's going to be quieter because I've locked a couple of the dogs downstairs. One ran from me, so she's pacing outside the door now. But yeah, you can tell that this room needs to be touched up a little bit. See all this? But this is going to be what we are calling, hi Jen, we're calling this the studio. Because if you see behind me, let me roll out of the way, you see all the recording stuff and the computer. So this will be where I'm mixing the YouTube videos and all that good stuff. And then if you can see how bright I look, I now have a ring, a light ring. I'm going to hold off on the podcast, I think, for a minute. I'm just researching it right now. There's a square up at the top showing me, and it's a delay. So I wonder if that's how you guys are seeing it. Oh, that's crazy. Okay, so anyway, so just a reminder that reviews help sell books. So if you love my book, if you hate my book, as long as it's an honest review, please, 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 I beg you to go leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads. That's how people find us. The lower the reviews, the harder it is for people to find us. I wish I could get this camera to go lower. I wish I could go higher, but I'm short. So this is what we're working with for right now. Hi, Sarah. Okay, so now once I get started, Genevieve is on. So if you have any questions, she can answer it. She's my editor and my bestie. So every one of my books she's edited. She can tell you anything you have, any questions you have. At the end, I will ask a few, or I won't ask, I'll answer a few questions. So just let me know if Jen doesn't answer it, or by the end, if you're like, oh, wait, what about this? Feel free to shoot it off, and I'll be here for you, okay? So, where's my glasses at? Oh, come on. I'm not even ready. This is fun, though. Rolling back and forth is fun. All right. Just so y'all know, I had bacon and gravy for dinner. All right. Here we go. Chapter 2. Nova rolled over with a grunt. Stupid, uncomfortable couch bed. She stretched her arms over her head and yawned. She hardly got any sleep, but the sun was shining through the window and pinging her right in the eyelid. Good morning, Gray said from across the room. Nova screeched and yanked the blanket up to her chin. She'd always slept naked. While she'd intended to stay fully dressed in Gray's house, she'd woken up sweating like a pig and pulled everything off. And there she laid, on Gray's couch, wearing nothing but a pair of pink panties. How long have you been sitting there? She asked, her eyes wide as she stared at him in horror. Long enough to admire your tits, he said with a wide smile. Okay, the smile made her forget her embarrassment, but not enough. With a groan of utter humiliation, she rolled over and pulled the blanket over her head. You couldn't lie, she said against the scratchy mattress pad. Nah, told you. Nudity is natural for our kind. You'll get used to it. Promise. Yet you stared at my boobs, she said, rolling back to glare at him. I said it was normal, not that I didn't appreciate great tits. She glared for a few more minutes before tossing her hands up. Can you at least turn around so I can get dressed? Why? I've already seen you naked. She glared some more. Fine. He turned on the stool and sipped his coffee while she hurriedly dressed. When she told him it was okay, he turned back around, that smile still in place. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, and he looked mildly disappointed. You ready? For what? To try to shift again. No, I'm not ready. Number 1, I haven't had any coffee. 2, I haven't even showered or brushed my hair or teeth or anything. Coffee's ready. You don't really need a shower to turn into a wolf. And you know where the bathroom is to brush everything. So yeah, Nova had never been much of a morning person, and today was no different. With a huff, she threw the blanket away from her, stomped out the door, and retrieved her duffel bag from the back seat. Gray was chuckling as she made her way through his shed and into the bathroom. A few minutes later, his hand and arm appeared around the curtain with a mug of coffee clutched in his fingers. She took it and mumbled, "Thanks," before going back to the task at hand. Holy shit, she looked like a raccoon and he hadn't said a word. That was probably why he was smiling and chuckling so much, because she looked ridiculous. Hell, he probably hadn't even seen her boobs. It was probably just another way to get back at her for all the headaches she'd given him last night. She wasn't trying to annoy him or whatever. She was just as confused by him as he was by her. His life was alien to her, odd, strange. He chose to live in a shed in the middle of nowhere instead of being in the middle of all the action. Although, if she were honest with herself, when the bumpy couch was forgotten and she had finally slept, she'd slept pretty damn hard. It had been longer than she could remember that she'd actually slept without dreaming. Or at least she didn't remember if she had. Using a washcloth hanging on a rack, she got it wet and tried to reduce the smears of mascara and eyeliner around her eyes and down her cheeks. After brushing her teeth and ripping the brush through her curly rat's nest, she set everything down and stared at herself. She still looked tired, but it was better than before. And if she was going to turn into an animal, she didn't really need to bother reapplying all that junk anyway. Gray was waiting by the door when she stepped around the curtain. The mug he'd been holding was sitting on the counter, and his shoes and shirt were missing. "You ready?" "Do we really have to do this now?" "You could always meet with the pack first," he said with a smirk. Okay, so her options were a possible failure in making a fool of herself or getting rejected by a bunch of strangers. Nope, those were not options. "Pack," she said after weighing it all. If she couldn't shift again, her whole day would be ruined. But there was a chance the rest of the pack would be as nice as Emery, or so she hoped. He raised his brows and nodded. "Okay, let's go." Gray held the door open for her to step through, and she instantly wished she'd grabbed her jacket on the way out. He wasn't even wearing a shirt or shoes and didn't look the least bit uncomfortable. Once you shift a few times, you won't get cold so easily. Your body just needs to heal. She didn't feel weak or sick. She also had no idea what a healthy shifter was supposed to feel like either. She just had to trust Gray and his people. "Hey!" he yelled, and Nova jumped. Sorry, my eyes just blurred. I apologize. He stuck his fingers in his mouth and whistled a shrill, loud sound, and her eardrums felt like they were going to burst. People spilled out of the sheds and frowned at him like he'd gone nuts. "What the hell, Alpha?" a male said, his voice a little too growly to pass as a human. Emery was already on her way over, a smile pulling her lips up, her blue eyes full of excitement. "We shifting together?" she asked, her gaze bouncing between Nova and Gray. "Not today. Big River Pack, we've got a newcomer." "Yeah, we already know that," Emery said. "You already warned everyone, remember?" She rolled her eyes at Nova with a smirk. Well, at least Nova had one person on her side. "Yes, I warned everyone she was coming. Time for the meet and greet." The rest of the men filed onto the grass and stood in a semicircle around her. She'd been nervous about meeting all of them. Now she was intimidated and a little scared. All the men were big or bigger than Gray, and one of them didn't seem exactly happy to have her there. "This is Micah, my second," Gray said, gesturing to the aforementioned grumpy guy. He was as tall as Gray, white as a house, and his brows were in a permanent scowl. He pointed to a blind guy who smirked wide at her. "This is Reed, his third," Reed said. "You're not my fucking..." Gray stopped himself and sighed. "The quiet one over there is Tristan, and you already know Emery." Nova nodded and smiled at each in turn, but decided to refrain from making eye contact with Micah. He was way too scary, and he felt big, heavy, like he had a monster living inside him. And Nova couldn't smell a hint of man on him, only fur. "Nice to meet you guys, and girl," she said, and earned a wink from Emery. "So what's up? We running? Getting a little bonding time?" Reed asked, tugging the back collar of his shirt and taking it off completely. "She can't shift yet," Emery said, outing Nova to her brand new and apparently unwilling pack. "What the fuck is she... I'm gonna get on her later. She knows better." Sorry. "What the fuck is she supposed to do if Deathport or Tammin comes looking for her?" Micah asked Gray. "And how the fuck are you a shifter and can't shift?" "Leave her alone," Gray said, his voice doing something to her middle again. There was this strange sensation to bow when he spoke like that. Deathport. Okay, that was not a good sounding name. They didn't even try to hide what they were. Just put death right there in their name. Tammin sounded a little better, but since Micah mentioned them alongside Deathport, it had to be the bad guys too. "How many wolf packs are around here?" Nova asked, struggling to keep the trembling out of her voice. Deathport are wolves. Tam and Pride are lion shifters, Emery said softly from beside her, but her eyes were on Micah. Nova hadn't missed how Emery stepped a little closer to Nova, as if she'd need to protect her from the second of the damn pack. Why would lions care anything about me? Nova squeaked out through her closing throat. She felt like she was going to pass out. Between the threat of several packs gunning for her and the fact there was way too much energy pouring from all the shifters around her, it was hard to breathe. Because you outed us, Princess, Micah said, using the same name Gray had called her the night before. Before she could reply, a huge black wolf burst from Gray. Pieces of fabric fluttered to the ground as he charged Micah. But Micah was already shifted into a massive dark gray wolf and was barreling straight for Nova. Call her and ask her to stop calling? Because it's vibrating my phone. No, I can't get the phone straight. Sorry, I'm crooked now. But could you let her know to stop? She said over and over, backing away from the group of people watching her with fear in their wide eyes. She turned and ran for her car as sounds of paws slammed into the ground behind her. No, Nova, stop running, Emery screamed from behind her. Stop running? Was she insane? Nova might not be wise to the ways of the shifter, but she did have a sense of self-preservation. She was so close, just a couple of feet and she could dive into her car. From there, she wasn't sure what she'd do since her keys were inside Gray's shed. Shit, had she actually remembered to lock her doors? That would totally be her luck at this point. It didn't matter if she'd locked her doors or not. She hadn't been fast enough. A massive paw slapped against her and she hit the ground hard. She rolled and raised her hands to protect her face, but Micah was knocked away from her by a blur of black fur. She screamed and lunged back to her feet. The rest of the pack had shifted and were corralling Micah and Gray away from Nova, but that didn't stop the fear from burning a path through her system. Her heart felt like it would jump from her chest, and she could barely breathe as she watched the two creatures bite and claw at each other. And then Gray was on his back, with Micah lunging at his throat. That strange fluttering sensation in her stomach turned into a tight cramping. Gray. Mine, Nova's wolf growled inside her head. Her vision blurred and that pain in her gut turned into fire. Rolling on her hands and knees, she gasped as her beast completely took over her body. When she looked down, instead of hands and knees, there were huge white paws speckled with brown spots. Her wolf had burst through to take care of her alpha. Mate. Holy shit, she'd written about mates dozens of times, but had always thought it was more of a romantic notion. Apparently, her broken instincts weren't so broken after all. Nova watched in awe and horror as her body barreled toward the two wolves fighting and dove straight for Micah. There was a long howl from somewhere behind her, but her wolf didn't stop, and Nova didn't seem to have a single ounce of say in what her wolf was doing. Her muzzle opened and clamped down on Micah's throat and shook. Nova, stop! Emery screamed as feet thundered toward her. Nova's wolf was intent on killing the second of the Big River pack, and there wasn't a damn thing she could do to stop it. And we're stopping there tonight, guys, because my phone won't stop ringing. Sorry. Okay, we'll take a little bit longer because I think I'm cutting short about 7 or 8 minutes. So, who has lay questions? Anybody? Hey, Shauna. Hey, Angela. Hi, Gretchen. I don't know who was all still on here. I can't really see a number. I'm sorry I'm crooked. That's all Amanda. That's my bestie. Anybody got any questions before I end the night? Nobody? Crickets? It's awkward when I sit here and wait because I know there's a delay in what you guys see and what I see when you guys ask the question. Hey, Brienne's on. Brienne's going to be a character. Thanks, babe. Husband said it was great reading. What am I working on right now? As a matter of fact, I am working on, what do we name it? Do you remember what we named it? Mason's Princess, that's what it is. It's the last in the Ravenwood Panther series. So I'm about a chapter and a half away from being done with that one, so that will be coming out this month. Hopefully in about 2 or 3 weeks it'll be out. And then next up is Moore's Pack and my boy Coda. So I'm pretty excited about that. Any other questions? I don't know if you guys can hear the squealing and the banging, but that puppy is going nuts not being in here with me. But she'll jump on the bed and get into everything, so. Any questions about the new studio and the new YouTube channel or anything like that? I'll have a new video coming out Friday. I'm gearing my entire channel towards behind the scenes of authors, the writing world, books, you know, things that I, as an avid reader, want to see, want to watch. You know, when I go watch these things, I want to know about their lives. I can get writing tips somewhere else, so I'm not doing writing tips. It's just going to be all about what we readers want to know about, you know. All right, any other questions? I'm going to go ahead and end for the night. Anyone? I never know how long to wait. All right, that's it for the night, guys. Love you. I'll see you next week.